What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the battle for Week 5 of Season 7 of the CPC, and this week we are up against Thick and his Sale Sharpedos. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. Wow, I can't talk already. This is going to be great. Really helps us out, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. But anyway, on to the team. Like I said, we are up against Thiccbunny and his Sale Sharpedos, and his team consists of Mega Mawile, Latios, Weavile, Rotom, Wash, Amoonguss, Donphan, Mienshao, Tyrantrum, Moltres, and Cofagrigus, with both Moltres and Latios being his Z users. So right off the bat, the reason that this video is titled That Looks Familiar is because the Mega Mawile Latios core is something that, spoilers, I am going to be looking to draft around in the BNR, which honestly the draft recap probably has not come out yet, so yeah, definite spoiler warning after the fact. But regardless, yeah, his team is very, very scary. Mega Mawile is a gigantic threat. That thing, just plain and simple, does not have switch-ins. Obviously, Z Latios as well is very, very scary. Its speed tier is something that my team does not necessarily enjoy dealing with. And then there's Weavile, with just the ability to hit insanely hard, be very, very fast. Just a quick annoyance that deters some of the mons on my team that I really would like to bring against him are just kind of nullified by Weavile, particularly the Gengar, which otherwise has a fantastic matchup. So those three are really big issues for me. And then especially his defensive core of Rotom and Amoonguss are very annoying for me to try to break down, as the Amoonguss deals very well with Coco, which is why I'm running what you see that I'm running, and then Rotom just has the ability to be very, very fat, and also immune to ground attacks. So just kind of his whole team composition is tough for me to deal with, but with the team that I'm bringing this week, I feel like I did a pretty decent job of potentially breaking what he will bring. So first and foremost, I'm going to be bringing a Tapu Koko with Flyinium Z with Thunderbolt, U-Turn, Brave Bird, and Dazzling Gleam. Thunderbolt is obviously very spammable against his team, barring the Donphan, which can be dealt with and actually abused by the defensive core that I'm bringing this week. So I'm not even bothering bringing anything to hit Donphan particularly hard, as my defensive core, like I said, abuses it and really just gets free turns out of him bringing the Donphan in. Z Brave Bird is for Amoonguss, as while that's something that my Charizard will be able to take advantage of, it's still something that I just would rather not have to deal with it, and the sooner I can get rid of it, the better. Dazzling Gleam is for, in particular, the Tyrantrum, which is something that really looks to be a big ol' threat against me. That and Mega Mawile are an insane offensively, physically pressuring core that, I mean, I have defensive mons in Skarmory and Tangrowth, but if he's able to just hit very, very hard consistently with those mons, that's something that I will have to watch out for. So I'd rather just not give Tyrantrum a free switch in. I'd rather have Dazzling Gleam on my Coco for that. The speed is enough to speed creep a Weavile, speed creeping Gengar, so I kind of went aggressive on the creep so that I could run a little bit more HP, maxed out my special attack, threw the rest into HP, and went with a hasty nature so that I can hit hard with Brave Bird and U-Turn. Next up, we have the first mon of my defensive core in Skarmory with Roost, Toxic Defog, and Brave Bird, as I am very much relying on Charizard in this game to break and potentially finish up the game. Having Skarmory there to get rid of rocks early on is something that is really invaluable, so as long as I can get rid of those before Charizard gets Mega'd, then that will be relatively invaluable. I have Roost just because, I rely on this thing along with Tangrowth to be able to check Mega Mawile. Now, these things can't particularly easily take it on, but the fact that they have high defenses. But this really is just one of the things, like I said, that I'm going to be trying to pivot around Mega Mawile in, because Mega Mawile has to run a myriad of different moves to fully take advantage of my team and hit my team hard enough. So just scouting out the set with pivots is something that I will have to rely on. Also, Skarmory is my way of taking on Weavile, who otherwise is a very big threat. Brave Bird in this instance is opted for over Ironhead, because while Ironhead can hit Mawile a little bit harder, it's not noticeably different. It does change the calcs a little bit, but it changes from a 4-hit KO into a 5-hit KO, or just something very something very like insignificant in that regard, then this also helps me take care of Amoonguss, who, like I said, with Coco is a very, very big problem. The speed is enough to outspeed Adamant Mawile guaranteed, so that I can scout out if it has Thunder Punch, if it has Fire Fang, whatever it has to hit Skarmory. I can roost up in order to scout that out. The defense is enough for an Adamant Banded Weavile after rocks. I believe it's to avoid a 2-hit KO from Icicle Crash, and then, yeah, just threw the rest into Spadef while hitting a Stealth Rock number in my HP. Next up is Tangrowth with Rocky Helmet, Leech Seed Knockoff, Earthquake, and Rock Tomb. This is my other way of taking on the Mega Mawile, just kind of switching around, letting it switch in, scout out what move the Mega Mawile wants to go for immediately, getting some Rocky Helmet chip, and if I'm in a situation that I'm able to, Earthquake and Leech Seed in order to get some residual health off him while hitting him relatively hard with Earthquake. Leech Seed is just spammable against his team. Knockoff is very good for like the Amoonguss switch-ins, Rotom switch-ins, and then Rock Tomb can lower the speed of like a Moltres trying to come in, or a Latios or a Weavile trying to be cheeky in certain instances. The speed is enough to speed creep a Mega Mawile that has 20 investment, because, I mean, I like to run 20 investment, so if he runs like Mawile speed creeping my speed creep of 20, so if he runs like 24, then 28 will outspeed that. The attack is for a jump point in Earthquake. It changes from like a 40.9 roll to like a 41.7 min roll, that type of thing. The defense is for a crit, Life Orb, Icicle Crash from Weavile, through the rest into Spadef after hitting an HP or a Stealth Rock number in HP. And rounding out my defensive core is going to be a Spadef Uxie. This is my way of taking on Latios with U-Turn, Stealth Rock, Fire Punch, and Knockoff. Just very, very annoying for him to deal with. This is my rocker. If I can get rocks up in Weavile, Latios, Rotom become much less difficult to take care of. Moltres is almost eliminated as a threat, and just the residual damage against this team is really, really nice. U-Turn for just scouting out what he wants to go for, Knockoff to get rid of items, Stealth Rock obviously like I said, and then Fire Punch is like a last ditch, okay, I need a little bit more damage on his Mega Mawile in order for like it to be in range of, say, like Coco, Tangrowth, just a little bit of extra damage, so Mega Mawile isn't a 100% free switch in to my Uxie. The speed is just a generic creep. The Spadef is enough to live a +1 Z Draco from Latios from full. I can't live after rocks guaranteed, but this way, just after full, if I come in as Latios Calm Minds, I will be able to get U-turn damage off into like Coco in order to try to revenge it from there. So that's what I ultimately went for with my Uxie. And then here we have a Life Orb Nidoking that I just kind of wanted breaking power. I just wanted a Mon where, in addition to Charizard, like the combination of the two, he just would not be able to switch in. I opted not to have a Revenge Killer in this game just because I felt that my defensive core, as weird as this sounds against a Mega Mawile, could take on whatever he had, and I could at least chip it into range of my other attackers. So with the Nidoking, I'm just kind of like, okay, I want to kind of force it into a situation where he has to sack something. Like, the more turns that I can get him to sack something, the better it will end up for me. And if we are trading sacks, well, I feel comfortable enough in my defensive core that I will be able to take out enough of his stuff to where the defensive core that I have will not be able to be broken by what he has. The speed in Nidoking is just enough to outspeed Tyrantrum, rest into special attack and HP, and of course, like, Dual Stab is just kind of generic, Ice Beam for the Amoonguss, and Fire Blast for really just, if I wanted kind of just a cover-all move against most of his team, Fire Blast is just a nice option to go for. Be like, okay, covering my bases, I'm going to hit something hard. Fire Blast is just a very good last option. And finally, we have a Sub-Roost Dual Stab Charizard that absolutely goes to work on his team. I mean, this thing's stab is unresisted by anything on his team. Just the Dual Stab, Flare Blitz, and Dragon Claw decimate him. And the sub is less so to, like, live attacks and, like, make the sub live the... Basically, okay, I'm not using Substitute, so that he can't break the sub. I'm using Substitute because when Charizard inevitably forces a switch, I will be behind a sub, and then I will be able to click the according move without having to try to predict around what he might go into. So yeah, just sub there, be able to dodge things like Spore, Stun Spore, Thunder Wave, really just those type of things. And then also it does give me a leg up in the Sucker Punch mind games to where if he mispredicts, then that automatically puts me in a great position to where I don't have to bother predicting anymore. Like one winning prediction from me in a Sucker Punch war with Substitute wins me that war. So that's kind of what I was going for there. The speed was enough for speed creeping my Nidoking. The HP, or the attack rather, is enough to 2-hit KO max HP Rotom with Dragon Claw after rocks. Now it's not enough to 2-hit KO like a defensive, but just like say a max HP set, I would be able to 2-hit KO with Dragon Claw, and then threw the rest into HP. So yeah, that's a team. Let's just go ahead and hop right on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that he did not bring the Latios, which, I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because, I mean, obviously you don't have to deal with Latios, but it's a bad thing because Yuxi actually takes it on really, really well. So I was kind of like, huh, well, darn, that's unfortunate, especially considering he did bring something that was in the back of my mind, and that is the Trick Room core of Cofagrigus and Mega Mawile. So quite unfortunate right there. He also brought the Tyrantrum, which, I mean, based on his team composition, I'm thinking has to be his Zard X check. Like, I'm thinking Haban, but also, given that he does have a Cofagrigus, which can easily just set up Trick Room for Mawile, Tyrantrum could also be like a Trick Room Choice Banded Head Smash set, and yeah, that hurts really, really badly. He also brought the Amoonguss, so my Coco is going to be pressured a little bit, and I really had to get rid of that thing before Coco can go to work. And he also brought the Rotom, which I mean is a good bring. So I mean he brought a very, very good team of 6 Mons. So yeah, this is going to be difficult for me to really just figure out his team. I have to scout out quite a bit because I have to figure out what type of set I have to figure out what moves the Mawile has, figure out what type of set the Cofagrigus is, figure out what Weavile's running, figure out the Tyrantrum set. Amoonguss, I kind of have an idea. Like, I just know that it's going to be a more defensive, I'm thinking Spadef or mixed defensive set against me, and then Rotom I'm pretty sure is going to be defensive as well. So that's just something, like, I have to scout out these big four in general before I can play accordingly. So what I'm going to do is I am actually just going to lead off with my Yuxi, as I'm thinking that he'll lead with Rotom against my team, as he can Volt Switch out on my defensive Mons, or he can threaten like Nidoking with a Hydro Pump, and I will not be able to OHKO in return. So considering he does lead with Rotom, and I do want to get this thing worn down as quickly as possible, as Volt Switching around is a huge annoyance for my team, I'm going to go straight for the knockoff as opposed to Rock's turn 1, and it turns out he's an Assault Vest set. So that tells me that he doesn't even have Pain Split, so there's no way this Rotom is going to get healed, so I will be able to keep any damage that I do get on it. Now, he goes into Cofagrigus. I'm just going to scout out this set too, as I go for the knockoff, and he goes straight for the Colbur. As I know I'm a Spadef Yuxi, he has to set up in order to even significantly damage me. As you can see, that Stab Shadow Ball, even after a little bit of damage, is still a 4-hit KO, so that is beautiful for me, meaning I can just get up rocks right there as he goes for Shadow Ball once again, gets a bit of a lower roll, and now my Yuxi is in for free. I mean, it's only at 39%, but that is still plenty to check the Rotom and the Cofagrigus should I need to. So I'm going to go into my Skarmory, try to see what else he wants to do, as he does just keep firing off the Shadow Ball. I know that I will be able to avoid a 2-hit KO from this range, so I'm just going to go straight for the Toxic, and I will be even able to outspeed with my Skarmory and Roost after I get the Toxic off as he goes for the Trick Room. So that is confirmed on his end. That was like a suspicion that I had at the very beginning that was confirmed. And I go for the Roost right here, as I was thinking, okay, he has 2 plays. He ends up going for a 3rd play into Mawile, which I kind of agree with. But he had 2 plays in which Cofagrigus stayed in. If he stayed in, he either went for a Shadow Ball or he went for a Nasty Plot. Well, first of all, he would have to have Nasty Plot, which would reveal 3 moves of his set, would be Nasty Plot, Trick Room, and Shadow Ball. Which, okay, that's scary, but I can sort of deal with it. I might just have to roost stall a bit with my Skarmory, as I did take 35, I would have taken like 70, so I could roost stall a tiny bit, just wear down Trick Room as he is toxic. But he goes into his Mawile as I do roost up back to full, and this is fantastic for me. So now I think that Mawile is going to go for either Fire Fang or Thunder Punch, but he ends up Mega Evolving and going straight for the Play Rough as I go into my Tangrowth. Whoops, I accidentally reset. Let's go straight to the... Here we go. Okay, so my apologies there. But I go into my Tangrowth as he does Mega Evolve, and he 2-hit KOs me basically with the Play Rough, as that does 52, and Rocky Helmet will take its damage on Mawile. Now, we were talking after the game, and he said that he went for Play Rough as opposed to a Swords Dance or Thunder Punch or Fire Fang because he anticipated counter on my Skarmory, which, considering I was at full health, was a very real threat, and was something that I heavily considered bringing. So, I mean, it was a good scout out. Tangrowth will be 2-hit KO'd, but because I have regen and because I have so much defense, like, it was just a nice scout and puts it even closer to in range of my Tapu Koko's Thunderbolt, which I just want to get this thing closer and closer to being taken out. But considering that Trick Room is starting to wear down, I don't want my Tangrowth to go down, because I mean, I obviously want to have it for a Tyrantrum as well as living a hit from Mega Mawile later. Gonna go into my Skarmory, just kind of wear down Trick Room a little bit more, and now I'm gonna sack off my Uxie, as I felt that that was the most expendable thing on my team, and it would also give me a free switch into my Charizard once he killed the Uxie, where, knowing that he wouldn't want to sack his Mega Mawile, I would be able to get up a free sub. But he goes into a Moongus, and I'm thinking, okay, a Moongus is annoying. I already have Rocks up, so Uxie has kind of run its course in this battle. Like, he doesn't have the Latios, I've already gotten Rocks up, I've knocked off the Rotom, I've knocked off the Cofagrigus. Like, Uxie has done quite a bit in this game, so I'm just going to give this off as the sleep fodder and just go straight for another knockoff. As he goes into his Rotom, takes Rocks, and takes another knockoff. Now, Rotom, like I said, is an annoyance. I want to put that thing in range of my Charizard, so instead of switching out, I'm just going to go straight for another knockoff. Yeah, it only does 13%, but what he has to do is he has to go into his Weavile to revenge kill me, and Weavile gets hit by rocks, so in case he overpredicted, I decided to go for the U-turn, but he makes a smart play, goes straight for knockoff, and KOs my Uxie. So now I am down 5-6, but Uxie already did a heck of a lot to his team. It got Rocks up. It knocked off Rotom, it knocked off Cofagrigus. He was able to get Rotom in range of Charizard if it's not a... Well, even if it is a defensive Rotom, it is potentially in range of my Charizard at this point. It damaged Weavile. It was able to go down while getting some damage off on Mega Mawile because of the Scout Out with Tangrowth with Rocky Helmet. So Uxie did quite a bit in this game. But knowing that he went for knockoff, I'm going to go straight into my Koko and just go for a U-turn. If he outspeeds and goes for knockoff, good on him. But if he does switch out, which I kind of predicted him to do, I will be able to U-turn and go straight into my Charizard and go for the sub. Now, I've kind of been building up to this the whole battle, just waiting for Charizard to come in on something that it forces out and just go for a sub. Now, at this turn, he immediately went into his Tyrantrum. Like, he didn't think about it. Like, he didn't... I could tell that he didn't, like, calc this turn, or if he did it earlier. But he immediately went into the Tyrantrum, which tells me that this thing is 1 billion% Haban. So I'm going to pop that immediately, as even a max HP I should be able to 2-hit KO through Haban, which I luckily am able to do, as he does hit me with a Head Smash. Now I'm thinking, okay, he went for Head Smash over something like Earthquake, which would guaranteed break my sub. Like, he risked the miss with Head Smash instead of going for another move to break my sub. Like, it'd be one thing if he was trying to OHKO me from full, but it was just a substitute. So I'm going to try to bank on the fact that he will think that I will just try to KO the Tyrantrum and try to pivot out, or potentially even miss with Head Smash, and I'm going to go for another sub, as unfortunately he does hit the second one. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I was banking off luck at that point, and ultimately I do just decide to take that thing out with a Dragon Claw. Now he goes into his Weavile, and ultimately, me going for that second sub is kind of a blessing in disguise, because before I would be out of range of a banded Weavile's Icicle Crash. Like, had I just been at 75%, Weavile's Icicle Crash would not have knocked me out from that range. So that would have been perfect for me, just stay in, knock out the Weavile, but because I did put myself in range of banded Weavile's Icicle Crash, I am thinking, okay, I want to save my Charizard. I don't want it to go down just yet, as I would like it to deal with like Mawile, Amoonguss, Rotom all later. So I'm going to switch on out, go into my Skarmory, as 2 Icicle Crashes has the potential to knock me out. 2 Banded Icicle Crashes has the potential to knock me out, but it was somewhat in my favor, as he actually ends up being Scarfed, and he goes for the Foul Play, which would have KO'd my Charizard from that range. So, I mean, I don't think it would have KO'd from 75%, but it still would have done a very, very good chunk. So yeah, now Skarmory is in. The Weavile has to switch out. It's already taken 2 rounds of rocks, but now I'm going to double back into my Charizard, as I'm thinking, okay, Weavile's locked in to Foul Play. I can go straight into Charizard, as he's more than likely going to go into his Rotom to try to take advantage of my Skarmory going for Roost and get some momentum with Volt Switch. So I pull the double back into my Charizard as he pulls the switch into his Cofagrigus, and this is great for me. This guarantees that I do get the Roost up, as yeah, he can go for the Trick Room, but it's not a big deal, as I can just sub over and over to wear down the Trick Room, and if he switches out, well then that's just a free sub for me. So he goes into his Rotom, as I just go straight for the sub like I said. Want to stall out Trick Room, and then this does give me a free attack on whatever he decides to switch in. But considering I know that his Rotom is max HP, I'm thinking it's kind of bulky, so I am just going to go for another sub as he breaks it with a second Foul Play, and now I'm going to Roost on this turn. As you can see, there is 1 turn of Trick Room left. He will outspeed me and be able to hit me with an attack, but because he was Assault Vest, I know that he does not have T-Wave, or if he does have T-Wave and was banking on getting knocked off, that is God tier prep. I know that he is more than likely not going to go for... Well, I know that he more than likely does not have T-Wave, so I can tank any hit this Rotom wants to go for. Even if it's a modest Hydro Pump, I take max 68% from that. So I know that I'll guaranteed be able to come out of this turn with a sub, and then outspeed the Rotom, and then be a Charizard behind a sub for whatever he wants to go into. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, is he goes for the Hydro and misses. Turns out he was a defensive Rotom, so Hydro would have done max 50%. I mean, still that sucks, as my Charizard is at 76 as opposed to 26 in this instance. So that does suck, as I am able to knock out the Rotom with Dragon Claw. And he goes into his Mega Mawile, and I considered trying to outplay Sucker Punch with like Roost and a couple subs, but I decided that no, Mega Mawile is enough of a threat. If I take this thing out, then my defensive core 100% can win the game, and I am able to knock out his Mega Mawile. Now, one thing that I would like to mention, had Charizard been a little bit lower right there, like had Rotom hit the Hydro Pump, then I would have been in a range where Pursuit could have potentially KO'd me even if I didn't switch out. So yeah, I mean, it does suck in that regard, but I still think the 2 Brave Birds from Koko and Skarmory would have been able to clean up the Amoonguss, and the Cofagrigus was low and poisoned already, so I still think I had the game pretty wrapped up. I mean, the Hydro Pump miss obviously sucks in the moment, as it really did just kind of seal his fate. Like, it kept him from being able to do much of anything. I'm going to switch into my Skarmory, as he needs 3 Icicle Crash flinches, 2 in a row, in order to knock me out. Luckily, he does not get the flinch on the first one. I'm able to Roost up, and now I'm just going to go for the Brave Bird to knock out his Weavile, as he does get the flinch this time around, and so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to Roost up until I can knock out this Weavile, because the only way that he can really beat me at this point is if he gets repeated flinches. So now that I'm at 88%, if he flinches me again, it's not a big deal. I can just go for the Brave Bird to knock him out, which luckily I do break through right here and knock out the Weavile, and that pretty much just wraps up the game, as Amoonguss and Cofagrigus will not be enough to take on my team, especially because my Charizard is at such high health. So he goes into his Amoonguss, and I'm just going to Roost up immediately. I want to see what this Amoonguss wants to go for, like just sack Skarmory off as Spore Fodder if he had it, but he actually has Stun Spore, which is a good play on his end. And so now, with the Skarmory is Stun Spored, I know that I'm not going to get Spored. I'm just going to go for the Brave Bird, try to wear down this Amoonguss. As he goes into Cofagrigus, that thing will go down to another round of Poison next turn. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pull the switch into my Mega Charizard, as there were 2 things that he could go for on this turn. He could go for Trick Room, or he could go for Shadow Ball. If he went for Trick Room, well, he dies to Poison, then it's Amoonguss against the world. I can switch around to wear down Trick Room, and Charizard can take that thing out. But if he goes for a Shadow Ball, then Charizard takes it, he goes into Amoonguss, Charizard one-hit KOs that thing. So whatever happened, Charizard would be in against the Amoonguss with the Cofagrigus dead. There's really nothing he could do, as he does just end up going for the Shadow Ball. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It does 28% to my Charizard, and his Cofagrigus will go down, meaning that Charizard will be in against Amoonguss. It will be faster, and it will be able to one-shot that thing after Roxanne and Amoonguss just drops. And unfortunately, Charizard does not live the recoil, so we do only win 4-0 instead of a 5-0. But still, that was a very, very good game to Thiccbunny. We were fortunate to end his, I think he was 5-0 or 4-0 going into this game. So he was undefeated, so we were able to take him down. So now we move to 5-1 or 4-1. Wow, I cannot count at all. Can you guys tell it's late? But either way, very, very good game to Thick. I mean, I know that the score was 4-0, but that was a lot closer and a lot more volatile of a matchup than it ended up. Like, it was more volatile. Like, I ended up just bringing 6 that could deal with his 6, whereas he could have brought a different 6 that would have dealt with mine. So, good game to him. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is Sticks signing out. Why not? See you guys.